Okay, hello. Today we're going to be painting John. Um, he's a guy I met at the the vegetable market in the farmer's market in Huntington. I just thought he had an interesting face, and I just asked him if he would pose for me. Uh, and I'm finally getting around. That was last summer. I'm finally getting around to actually painting him. Okay, so what you see I'm doing is that I am establishing my cools in the shadow right off the bat before anything else. I'm trying to make sure that there is that separation of light and dark. Um, he gets pretty red and ruddy. Uh, I'm trying to keep to the values in the photograph. I matched them pretty well. I think what happens though at the end, you'll see probably a little bit of uh, maybe a little bit darker colors, but I think it's just the video. Um, this is painted. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm adding in this area. That's actually that's his ear, kind of poking through. A lot of these colors are just really abstracted. There's ultramarine blue and yellow ochre for the beard. Now this is sap green and burnt umber for the this background. I really want to get him to pop out. And so I have to go real dark. I mean, my photograph is definitely deep, and you guys should all have the photograph, uh, and um, and you can see how dark that background gets. But you need that. You need that for the contrast. And so here I'm just asking. I'm adding more and more, just big shapes. I'm not really. This is going to be more of a sketch vignette than a formal portrait. Um, Plus, he's kind of on the small side. The head is, I think, only about 6 inches. All right, so as I'm going back in, I'm reestablishing some of the colors. I'm getting some things a little darker. I'm always trying to keep the form in mind as I move in, um, or move forward, I should say. Trying to get a little bit of turning. The forehead, you can see, is prominent. It juts out a bit, leaving that highlight right there. Now here I'm painting basically his shirt and painting around the beard as best as I could. So I kind of left a little bit of a triangular shape there. Okay, now I'm just drying everything off, and you can actually see how light everything gets. I actually made a little mark there with my finger. So so now I'm trying to just get a little more dark in my wash. So basically, the rest of the painting is going to be, the skin tone was cadmium red, alizarin crimson, and a little yellow ochre. Okay, in various degrees of opacity and thickness and thinness. You can see that he's still a little on the kind of pale side, but I will start to build him up a little bit more. Um, Also working in the blues to the reds and some of the green tones, just like now. Big color. You need that in the painting, just so that it will come through. It will actually filter through in the washes. So here I'm just getting a little bit more specific the with his form a little bit around the eye. As I get darker, I'm adding more burnt umber and alizarin crimson to my basic flesh tone, which was what I mentioned earlier, was yellow ochre, cadmium red, and alizarin crimson. Again, in various degrees of opacity, right? Meaning more water, less water, less water, it's going to be darker, more water, it's going to be more of a wash, a faint wash, okay? So, and as you can see, I'm getting very specific with those cool tones, right? I really want them to show through. I want to have the illusion of sunlight right away, and I want to try to keep that feeling throughout the painting. Here's more of the beard color in the shadow. It does get dense, even though it looks like he was probably a redhead in his day. The beard has traces of reddish tone around the mouth, and or it could be blonde too. But so that's why I'm using the yellow ochre as the other color. So here we go. So working into the chin. You're starting to see that he's kind of coming through basic shapes. Really, in a painting like this or a portrait like this where the lighting is so intense, if you can get the basic shadow shapes around the eye sockets and so forth, you're pretty much good to go. You just have to delineate what's happening inside the eyes and the recesses. And because we're putting in so many different washes, you'll see that that they really shine. The darks will get dark enough so that all we need to do, because we're building up the darks here, is we're just going to need to put a few little accent marks in the eyeballs and so forth, and that'll be it. That's all we have to do with his, basically his eye features. The nose too, just working around. I think I just went back at the very end and just added a little bit of accent just in the nostril, and that was pretty much it. Now you can see that I keep going in and painting around the eye, but it changes. You'll see that after every wash, it gets a little bit lighter when it's dried. So you need to go back and still redraw. But I'm satisfied with the forehead. We have that highlight, which is the brightest part of his face. Probably got, I think one wash gets a little dark on top. You'll see that a little later. But it kind of provides the side plane, which actually makes his forehead protrude a bit more. And it's actually not a bad thing. So here, more halftones. So I'm kind of working between the lights, the halftones, and knowing that I have to go back and hit those shadows even harder. And you can see again, as those darks that I just put down there, they're gone. They just disappeared. All right, so they need to be reestablished. And because I do want to build up, I don't want to get too dark. It's lighting like this can be tricky. It can force you to get darker in the shadows, and you have to try to fight that temptation to get really dark, okay? So that's why I am a little bit more hesitant on going super dark in my shadow right away. With portraiture, you kind of want to build up. You want to build up on it more. There are more subtleties in the human face than there is if you're painting, I don't know, a cabbage or an apple, right? So we have to be careful not to state everything too dark, because if it's too dark and the transitions aren't right, you could lose the likeness of the person. So with portraiture, I do kind of set back. It's still loose. It's just not definitive in the beginning as much. And yes, there were probably, I would say, on this painting, more than likely there were probably about maybe 5 or 6 washes on the head, which is a lot. But it's necessary for a picture like this. So there you go. going back into the shadow once again, really getting in that dark. We're really feeling that light, that highlight there. I think this is where I get that little too dark there, but it lightens up just a little bit. Still have his shape. The side plane of his cranium needs to be reinforced once more. That will come. Here I'm darkening up those edges again. I'm really trying to I'm going for all out. If I had to put a percentage on that green, it's probably about 85%. But that's where we get our bright lights. Okay, so you can't have light without dark. Now this whole portrait sketch took about an hour and 6 minutes, and unfortunately I ran out of time. So I don't know what happens. I might have to throw in the photo at the end that I took. I didn't realize that I had some more videos on my camera, and it didn't give me the full time. But we condensed it down to just short of 17 minutes, which is a miracle. All right, so again, more refinement. You'll see now I'm going to go in, like wherever I see those half-tone bright reds, there's nothing in there except for red and cadmium red and alizarin crimson, right? I really want to get that dark in there. Now I'm going back once again, okay? There's my little turnover, okay? I want to darken this. We probably have about 5 minutes left, thereabouts. Now I think I'm using, not sure what this is. The video is actually slowing down a little bit. Okay, so yeah, so here I'm going back and I am giving a little bit more definition now, again to the eyes. I have the depth of the shadow that I'm looking for, right? I want to keep it open, but I don't want those shadows to get dense and dark. My photograph has a nice open shadow, and I want to try to retain that feeling. I'm going around for the creases. Still not overdoing them, but just putting them in enough where I can get the highlights and so forth in there. Okay. Actually, highlights are already there. I'm just leaving the lights in the eyes, just faintly. So here now I'm going back, trying to get a little bit more roundness. I really want to get that highlight on the forehead to really jut out. That is the point of impact. That's where the sun is hitting him the most. Now, I felt he needed a little bit more color. Now, I'm spraying. Unfortunately, I'm on a flat plane for the video's sake. But there was, I sprayed it, and as you can see how runny it is, it's just creating this beautiful, well, there it is. I'm tilting it around just to move that color about. So that's what I was after. I wanted to get some blues in there to really push out that red and what little yellow there is in the beard, and I'm hoping that does show through. And I just tape that down. The canvas, I'm sorry, the paper is getting very saturated, so it's starting to wobble a little bit. And yeah, so here I'm going in, adding more of the darks. And again, redefining that core shadow, right? Really want that to jut out, and I think that got it. I think that's what I needed, just to really push that, project that frontal lobe out a bit. Again, more of the eyes, more detail, more reds where I need them. And you can actually see that just his cheek, right, is a little lower. Well, I did that on purpose because I wanted to paint some of those hairs in opaquely after the fact. So here I think I'm going, yes, these are the highlights, the lights, and you'll start seeing them come about a little bit more. And here we go. So we're very close to the end here. What I will do is at the end, you'll see the actual final, you'll see the final, just a still photograph of this painting. But I'm pretty happy. The lights are really nice and strong. I think, yeah, so we're getting in the eyes. We're getting some of the lights in his beard. Working on, there we go. So you can almost see it's starting to come together. We just need those little flyaway hairs in the background. On the left side of his head, it looks a little stark because it's almost pure white. On my painting, I did knock that down considerably in value. So I did some more washes in there. And here I am going back in and just working in those lights coming around. You can almost see he's starting to kind of pop a little bit. And we are almost done. Okay, guys, well, you all have a great day. I hope you enjoy the portrait, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.